Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone out to our regular board meeting for May 28th, 2020. Ms. Pavlik, please call the roll.
Mr. Stevens,
Here.
Mrs. Patterson, Mr. Tench,
Here.
Mr. Kennedy,
Here.
Mrs. Boynton.
Here.
Okay, if we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, once again, I'd like to welcome everyone and our viewers or our folks that's out here that's chimed in from our zoomed in with us. Welcome also, once again. We're going to move right along to our agenda items, which is awards, presentations, and communications. Dr. Selico.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Good evening, board. Good evening to those of you who are watching or listening this evening. We appreciate you tuning in. This evening, we have a unique circumstance as we sit here. We know it's all unique in the last couple of months, but typically where we would be this evening would be at Columbus Elementary School doing our awards to our retirees. And seeing as though we are not able to provide them with the appropriate presentation that we would like to have, we have notified all of them that we would like to have them back, hopefully when we're ready in September or October, whenever that month comes, where we can all be together again and have a celebration of their service. But what I would like to do is just announce their names and recognize and thank them for their years of service. So first off, we have Janet Pavlik, our treasurer, who will be heading out. She has 15 years in, and it's been a pleasure working with Janet side by side. And also we have Ginny Golden, who you may recall retired a couple years ago, but hung around with us. And she has been in the district for 25 years. So again, appreciate her stepping in and doing a great job for us this year at Columbus. On the classified side, we have Gloria Bird, a paraprofessional, and she's been here 22 years. Marilyn Cartier, transportation attendant, 25 years. Lily Cagnata, she's a cafeteria manager. She's been with us 29 years. John Cusick is a school bus operator. He's been here 30 years. Linda Droptro is a custodial assistant for 6 years. She's been with us. Lori Dunkel, who you may recall retired quite some time ago, but we have not had a chance to properly wish her well. And she was the payroll specialist for 41 years in the district. And Michael Ickner for transportation attendant, 19 years. Robert Tatarko, school bus operator, 37 years. Valerie Warren, special education attendant, 17 years. So we have some with quite a few years with us, and again, appreciate all of their service and everything they've done to help our students and our district. And then finally, we have one teacher, only one certified staff member this year, which is Kim Rado, and she was in her last couple years teaching science at Heskett, and she's been with us 32 years. So just wanted to, we're not voting on anything, just wanted to address the board and thank them for their service. And that is all I have for presentations. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments from the board? Anyone like to say anything?
I just want to wish all the retirees all the best in this new chapter in their life, and especially to our treasurer, Janet Pavlik. 15 years. I could tell you that Barbara and I have been here since she was hired, and her and her late husband, Don, became Bearcats right away and rocking their Bearcat gear at all the events and everything, and a dedicated employee, and kept us out of the news financially, which is so important to any school district, and got all kind of awards, and her work is truly going to be missed. And I want to just personally thank you for your 15 years of service to the Bedford School District and our taxpayers and the students. I'm going to miss you.
Anyone else?
I would like to say, Janet, remember when you came? I'm sad to see you go. And I wish you well, as long with the other retirees, especially Miss Rado. I remember her, and this the things that she did with science and some of the students that went on to high school and are doing so well. I remember her taking one gentleman who is now a pharmacist and something else. He went to Bowling Green, and I see him every now and then behind the pharmacy counter at CVS in Solon. So we hate to see you go. You did us well, and best of luck to you. But we'll see you around.
Well, for me, ditto to both. Ditto. Thank you. It's been a pleasure in working with you. Learned quite a bit through your expertise in your financing and so forth in finance. So I really appreciate all you've done. And once again, thank you very much.
Janet, I wasn't here when you were hired, but being a new person over the 3 years, you've helped me learn some things. If I had questions, you answered them and sort of steered me the right way the first couple months, make sure I was not crossing the line. So thank you. I wish you the best of luck.
Well, good luck, Jen. Thank you. It's been nice that I know you. So good luck. Enjoy. Please relax. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to move right along with consent item, the agenda item number 3, which is audience participation. So do we have any participation, James?
We do. Bianca Brooks Slaughter, we're going to call her in now.
Okay.
Mr. Stevens, Mr. Zagrebek usually does the 3-minute timer. He's not here this evening. I don't know if you want.
I'll
me
keep
to
the
do that?
3 minutes.
Okay.
Hello.
Mrs. Brooks Slaughter,
Yes, it is.
you are now on with the Bedford Board of Education.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Go ahead. This is Mr. Stevens. Go ahead. This is Mr. Stevens, and you have the floor. I just want to let you know you have 3 minutes right now as you present your statement or concerns. So you can go right ahead, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity. Basically, we received notice of Anijah being valedictorian off of the Bedford City School District Facebook post that was presented by Miss Beth Russell. From that, we went from there, that she was announced as the valedictorian. We were very shocked to see at the ceremony, drive-in graduation ceremony, there was no acknowledgement of it. There was nothing printed in the pamphlet. And so we did reach out, to say, hey, was this an oversight? I know, with the pandemic and everything, we've been faced with a lot of challenges and a lot of, new ways that we had to do things. So we didn't know if it was an oversight or if this was how it was. Since then, I want to say thank you to all the staff member and faculty who have responded to us in such a timely manner and has come back to let us know, why it was that you guys did not decide to announce valedictorian or to really go forth with publishing it. However, I feel like in light of being receptive to the reasoning for why it was, I feel that as a school board and school system, we failed because of something that happened 4 years ago and we haven't taken the time to correct it. A lot this year has happened that has made us have to respond and learn how to move in different ways. My main goal for, being able to speak to you guys tonight about how we move forward from this point is that we don't want to jade these kids. Anijah has worked very hard and very diligently, to get to this point and to earn this reward. This year, they've been stripped, and no fault of anybody, they've been stripped of, senior picnic, their last passage of rites as seniors. They've been stripped of the opportunity to have a traditional graduation and celebrate with their families. These are all things that we cannot control. These are things we can't control: the pandemic, the rules that, the president and the governor make. But what we can get right is this in which we choose and how we choose to celebrate the valedictorian. She's number one. She has the number one GPA. For her to receive that information from a Facebook Facebook post, and we don't even have Facebook. You know, we were notified by family members and friends who do have it, and, you know, to have that excitement and then to be told, oh, but as a policy, we're no longer celebrating that. All you get is that Facebook post. As a legacy for all the hard work, we tell these kids, if you put in the work, if you have the drive, if you have the determination, if you push yourself, this is the work that's going to happen in the end. This child has done everything she needs to do, and she's done it outstandingly and done it right. And we're going to tell her that, oh, we're not acknowledging you because we've changed the policy because somebody 4 years ago made a mistake. And in that 4 years' time, we've negated to go back and fix this problem. I think that as a system, we have to acknowledge and address that, one. And then two, there's a lot of things we couldn't control, but this we can get right. And I'm hoping, as not just a member of the community and not just as a Niger's parent, but, you know, for the other kids who come, that we'll correct this and get this right. All the time has passed. What's happened has happened. It's not to pat anybody's hand or slap anybody's hand. I just want to move forward, and I do want to give that acknowledgement for her hard work. You know, it's about the keepsake for me. It's about the representation of the moment. When I'm blessed one day to have grandkids, to be able to tell them this is the legacy, this is the stock that you've come from, this is how hard your mom or your aunt worked at something. That's monumental, and that's very important to a parent like me. It takes a lot to get a kid to this point, and for a kid to be that blessed and be that determined and that skilled to make these type of accomplishments. So I do feel like she needs to be rewarded. It doesn't have to be public. We're not for all the pomp and circumstance, but again, this is a legacy. This is important. This is valuable. And because everything that I have told her as a parent is that you wonderful staff members, some of the wonderful staff members we have at Bedford, throughout her educational career at Bedford, has told her, if you do this, if you do that, this is the reward. So that we don't make liars out of ourselves. And so we don't jade this beautiful young lady, because all the things that she had to look forward to from her academic career, not just because of this pandemic, but even because of this situation, none of that has come fruitful for her. And she has definitely did it. And so for that reason, I'm hoping that we can fix this and we can give her what she deserves. So I don't care if it's sending her a plaque, and it doesn't have to be a public thing, but she needs to have something to celebrate and acknowledge the work that she has put in.
Okay, I want to thank you very much. We have, I did have some dialogue. I know we spoke earlier, and I want you to be very clear. I want to be very clear that this was not I guess you could say, a board policy that we instituted as a board policy. So, but it was, I guess, something that took place some years ago, and how things, the structure of the commencement took place from previous administration and, you know, principals, whatever. But we're going to look at it. We're going to address it. I've spoken with the superintendent, and I do truly understand where you're coming from, and I'm pretty sure that the other board members, you know, have some similar concerns, and also agree upon your concerns. So, Dr. Selica, you want to address, or you just want to say anything regarding this?
The only thing I would add, hi, Ms. Slaughter.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you? I would just add that Mr. Stevens is correct. This has been, you know, doing a little research, this has been a tradition, it seems now, for a while. I'm going to do a little more research on it tomorrow. But one thing that you may not know is that, one, we are, Mr. Thompson actually notified me or asked me earlier, much earlier, first thing this morning, I think, if it would be okay if we recognize the top 2 students with plaques. And of course I said, yes, that would be great. And in light of you suggesting, or someone suggesting that, I thought it was ironic. But we do intend to do that, as well as every year, Mrs. Russell, and I'm not sure if she explained this to you, puts an article of our top students in your schools. So every single community member will see Anija's picture and a description of her and her accomplishments. So I didn't want you to think, I know that you may not know that that's coming. So I just wanted to let you know that you do have that to look forward to. And as I would concur with, you know, Mr. Stevens, you should be very proud of your daughter, and I know you are, and she has accomplished great things, and we really do appreciate her efforts. And you know, she's a member of my Soups Troops, so she's near and dear to my heart, and do appreciate all the work she's done. So there are a couple good things yet for her to come. So thank you.
And I understand, and I just want to say, and I just want to share to that just really quickly. When Elijah was at Heskett, they had the Debbie Jacobs Award, and she was in the running for that, and she was so close, and she didn't get that. And so, the way that I was able to motivate her and tell her, don't be defeated from that, we still got, you can be valedictorian. And so each year when they print out the GPA, each year she's been number one. So this isn't a fluke thing. She didn't just get here. She didn't just arrive. She's consistently been that. And so for this to be, again, a goal that even since back in Heskett, when she didn't make the Dale D. Jacob Award, this has been on her to-do list. This has been her next goal. And so, again, that's why I'm sorry. I'm so passionate as a parent that, again, I know what's gone into this child, what's been in her mind, what's been in her soul and spirit to get up to this point. I also want to say I thank you guys thoroughly, because even though, we're all human, we have missteps, everybody has been really good about responding and getting back in touch with and calling to speak to me, from Ms. Russell, from Ms. Lewis, to Mr. Stevens, from Mr. Thompson. So I want to say and give credit. You guys are answering the call. We're going to have missteps, but it's the way we handle them. And I thank you guys for putting in the time and doing the work that we need to improve this. So again, I want to just be part of the solution. There's no anger or animosity. There's just a passion to correct it and to give our students what they deserve. And I thank you guys for all the work that you do.
Okay. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you. Have a good day. Okay. We're going to move right along to the next item, which is our consent agenda, which is item number 4.01, the consent agenda. Board members, you had an opportunity to review the consent agenda items. Are there any questions at all regarding the consent agendas that's in the attachment? If none, can I get a motion to approve agenda item 4.01, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Kennedy, second by Mr. Tench. Questions, comments? If none, please call the roll.
Mr. Tench,
Aye.
Mrs. Patterson.
Aye.
Mrs. Boynton.
Aye.
Mr. Stevens.
Aye.
Mr. Kennedy.
Motion passed 5-0. Thank you. Okay. Moving down to item number 5. Board, this is the second reading of the approval of the updated policies. And we need to have a vote regarding the second reading of the approval. Any questions? When that time comes, we'll do the question mark. But can I get a motion to approve agenda item 5.01, the second reading and approval of the updated policies?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Tench, second by Mr. Kennedy. Any questions regarding the policies?
Right. This is giving, and again, these are our guidelines that we're required to have. So the credit card, the 6.423 is actually the policy talking about the use of the cards, what employees are allowed to do, not allowed to do. The reporting requirements are very strict on them. So that spells out exactly what has to be done.
I thought that was it. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Any other questions, comments? If none,
5.60, the graduation requirements.
Yeah, that's to reflect the new laws when they switched over to the pathways and all of that. So we're just getting current with that.
Thank you.
Mhm. Anyone else? None, please call the roll. Ms. Bablett?
Mrs. Patterson.
Aye.
Mr. Kennedy.
Aye.
Mr. Tench.
Aye.
Mrs. Boynton. Aye. Mr. Stevens.
Aye. Motion passed 5-0. Thank you. And also, I have also on the board agenda for recommendation, board members. As you know, we went through the search. This is 5.02. We went through a search regarding the treasurer's position. And to our audience, we've had 18 candidates, and then we had a screening of, we brought it down to 10, I believe. And then, no, it was eight, I'm sorry, 8. And then we narrowed it down to 3. And so we have a recommendation for our final candidate, which is William Parkinson. And just to give a little information on Mr. Parkinson, I believe by looking at his information, and talking at least 18 years as a treasurer. He was an assistant at one particular time, but altogether as a treasurer, at least 18 years, coming from Willoughby Eastlake City Schools. That's his previous, well, that's where he's coming from. Along with, he was a part of the Strongsville City Schools. He did 8 years of Strongsville City Schools, Willoughby Eastlake City Schools, 8 years, and then we also have Wyoming City School District, and did a couple of years there. So a total of 18 years, am I correct? Altogether as a head treasurer. And he's coming with a great sense of experience, a lot of experience in the things that he's been affiliated with, the different financial leadership programs that he's been a part of and still is, the vice president of Northeast chapter of OASBO, current president of the Northeast chapter of OASBO. He's been a part of the Graduate Leadership Academy for OASBO, Education Finance Committee of OASBO, Audit and State Committee for OASBO. I mean, he's been a part of professional memberships. He's a part of a professional membership, the Ohio Association of School Business Officials, Northeast Ohio chapter of OASBO, Associated of School Business Official International, and a part of the Ohio School Board Association. So Bill is coming with a great deal of experience and knowledge regarding finance and treasury, and that's why he's our final candidate. So, board, I would like to recommend Mr. Parkinson and get him approval from you all as the treasurer of Bedford City Schools. And can I get a motion to approve Mr. Parkinson for the treasurer of Bedford City Schools?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Tinch and second by Ms. Patterson. Questions or comments?
Mr. Parkinson, you have big shoes to fill. She may be a little in stature, but you got big shoes to fill, okay? But I know you will do a great job. I was very impressed with your resume. So,
Mr. Parkinson, Barbara stole my thunder. I was gonna, the comparison with the big shoes and little feet or whatever. But I'm sure you've had a chance to look at that, at our numbers and everything else like that. And what's ahead of us is basically what sold me on you with your background, with what you've gone through with the new construction and renovations and this, that, the other. Like Mrs. Patterson said, your resume spoke for itself, and all my research and my contacts that I went through had nothing but glowing words to say about you, and I hope you can live up to the hype, because there wasn't a bad thing said about you, that not to me anyways. And so welcome to Bedford. I hope you like green and white.
I love green.
Excellent. Good answer. Thanks for bringing your wife along too.
let me add one more thing. One of the persons that I interviewed said, "Can I lie?" I said, "No, you can't lie. If I lie, you can't come." I said, "Okay."
No, I want to say the same thing in the interviews. I was impressed with what you bring. as far as the building, as far as, you know, your knowledge of that, because like Mr. Ten said, we have a lot coming ahead of us. And one thing I said in an interview to all the board members is we want somebody to lay the facts out. All right, and we don't need a yes man, we don't need a yes woman. We want somebody to put the facts out and say, you know, we can do what we can. And they know I feel that way, and I think you're the person to do that. So that's what I'm looking for, and I welcome you and your family to Bedford, and that's it.
Mr. Parkinson, welcome to the Bedford City School District Bearcat family. I could tell during your interview that you were very passionate about what you do, and so we look forward to having you on board and doing the fantastic job that we know that you can do. So welcome.
Okay, great. I tell you, Mr. Parkinson, we're a close-knit, tight, together family. I mean, from the community-oriented staff all across the board. So we would want you to be here and be a part of that. And like we said, that green and white, that's what it's all about. And okay, that's great. That's great. Okay, we had a motion and we had a second. So Ms. Pavlik, can we please call the roll?
Mrs. Boynton,
Aye. Yes.
Either one.
Mr. Stevens,
Aye.
Mrs. Patterson, Mr. Kennedy,
Aye.
Mr. Tench.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0. Congratulations. Beautiful. Thank you. You have someone that you would like to introduce to us?
Actually, if
You can come up to the mic, please,
microphone.
if you have anything you need to say.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens, members of the board. I am very much looking forward to coming here, but first, congratulations, Ms. Pavlik.
Thank you.
Hope you find some place for to go.
That's Cleveland right now.
It is, but I'm looking very much forward to it and being part of their family. So I can't wait to get started. I brought my wife of 22 years with me, Molly. We have 2 boys. Ryan will be 11th grader next year, and our younger son, Evan, will be a first grader. We live in the high school system. Like I said, very happy, proud to be a new Bearcat, member of the Bearcat family, and look forward to being here.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you. Congratulations once again. Okay, but Mr. Parkinson, if you would like to stay to the remaining of the board meeting, you're welcome to do that. But if you guys want to go and celebrate, you're welcome to do that as well. So it's totally up to you, but you guys.
5-year forecast is coming up.
Then you better leave.
Not that much longer.
Well, if you decide to get up and leave, that's fine. Okay. Okay. We're going to move right along here.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes, ma'am.
May I make a couple comments before we move on?
You sure can.
Basically, I want to congratulate the board because I think you made an excellent choice. I, wasn't aware of who had really applied, who you were interviewing, who you were talking to. When I saw Bill's name come up on the agenda, I couldn't have been happier. This has been my baby for 15 years. And it's hard to give it up. And certainly I wanted to make sure it was in really good hands, and never did I expect it would be in really, really stellar hands that we're going to see here. I just have the highest confidence in Bill's work. Obviously, we're familiar with each other from our years in WASBO and, serving on a lot of different things together in that. So, yeah, again, not only I think, from a hands-on perspective, you got a great guy, but certainly with his fingers on the pulse of the bigger issues going on in the state, you know, in the treasurer's world, in the finance world, and also one that's been a big advocate for school districts. So, you know, I think in terms of an all-around fit, you know, you really couldn't have done better. So congratulations to you guys for making a great choice. And just congratulations to you and also to you. And you should have picked out the green tie for tonight. But, you know, other than that, you got it all right. Congratulations. Oh, okay.
Neither is Janet.
Good point.
Janet, let it go, let it go, let it go. I know.
Okay. All right, thank you for those kind words, Ms. Pavlik. Thank you. Okay, item number 6, superintendent's recommendations as presented by the assistant superintendent.
And I think I'm going to take this one, Mr. Stevens, because of the fact that I think Dr. Johnson is, she doesn't have accessibility to us today. We're not set up for that. So she just has one item, and I'm well aware of what that item is. It's 6.01, a personnel matter, and we are asking that for your approval of the agreement regarding wages between the Bedford Board of Education and Glenn Yorkowitz in accordance with the terms and conditions that are set forth in the exhibit. Thank you.
Mhm. Okay. Board members, can I get a motion to approve agenda item 6.01, personnel, certificated staff member?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Patterson and second by Mr. Kennedy. Questions, comments? None? Please.
I hope this doesn't happen again.
I don't have to say
I
it.
hope,
I second
no,
that.
I hope this doesn't happen again.
Yep.
That's all I can say.
Mhm.
Agreed.
Okay, that was a good comment. Good comment.
Let her say. I was going to say the same thing, but she said it.
Or was it going to be the
Why
same
you
thing or a
always
different
let me
way?
Say something when you can say it.
Mine would have been a little more politically correct.
Okay, I take mine back. Let me hear it.
No, let's go. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any questions? Okay, go ahead, call the roll, please.
Mr. Stevens,
All right,
Mrs. Boynton,
Aye.
Mr. Kennedy,
Aye.
Mr. Tench,
Aye.
Mrs. Patterson.
Aye.
okay, motion passed 5-0. Thank you, board.
Thank you.
Okay, down to item number 7, 7.01, 5-year forecast. Ms. Pavlik?
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Just as a reminder to anyone that may be listening as well as the board, we did have a special board meeting, wow, what's it been now? Probably 6 weeks ago or so, I'm guessing, that we went over what we thought the 5-year forecast looked like at that point in time. And we went into it in a lot of depth and, a lot of explanations as to the various elements of the forecast. And we were all set to pass that forecast a couple weeks, or I guess it was about a month after that because it was a regular meeting. And at that point in time is when we got news from the state of Ohio that our financial situation had been changed drastically with the stroke of the governor's pen. And so at that point in time, we had agreed that we needed to take another look at this forecast. We needed to update it for those changes that had happened. And so we took it off of the agenda. It has been reworked. And so just very briefly, I'm going to share with you really the impacts of the changes we made, because we didn't change a ton of things, but we did change some rather significant things. So the forecast as a whole definitely has a different flavor to it. As you look at the exhibit, which is the assumptions for the forecast, you will see this broken down page by page, element by element. And as I shared with you in an email, I tended to put in bold in the assumptions things that changed because in the spring forecast, mostly due to the pandemic. So the way that the forecast now reads, we are now going to have a positive fund balance for the next 3 years, this year and 2 years thereafter. And that's certainly really, really good news. And it's probably news that not a lot of school districts can say, especially with what we're facing. That being said, we are looking at a negative balance now, fund balance in year 4, and quite a large negative, obviously, in year 5. What changed so significantly? Well, from the last time I talked to you about this, one of the assumptions that I had changed, and actually this changed for a little bit more in a positive manner, but it had to do with our collection of our real property taxes. And you may remember when we talked about this a little bit, when things were first hitting, I had been a lot more pessimistic about what our collections were going to look like starting with July. And it was because of so many people that are out of work, and are people really going to be able to pay their property taxes? And since that time, we've kind of rethought that, and we're hoping that initially things may not be as bad as what we had thought. And that's mostly due to the fact that a lot of our community have mortgages on their property. They're paying their taxes into escrow. So hopefully those tax payments have already been collected on their behalf and will be remitted to the county on a timely basis. Just as a reminder, we're kind of split 50-50 almost between residential property taxes and commercial property taxes. Again, we're hoping our businesses are going to be able to withstand this pretty well. But again, we have a lot of small businesses here, so they may be seeing a blip in that as well. So we did have a slight adjustment in those real property tax numbers. The biggest footnote, or the biggest item on the forecast that did change, however, is the foundation, the unrestricted grants and aid. What we have done is we have adjusted the 2020, our current school year district number, because as a reminder, the governor, when he slashed the K-12 budget, the effect on Bedford was immediate take back of $643,000 this year. So in essence, that money is gone. We are not receiving any more foundation money for the rest of this year. And in fact, we're going to have to pay back some money that we've already received, that because they're taking back more than what we were due to receive for the rest of the year. So we obviously adjusted that number for 2020. And then based upon that, and I think most treasurers have come to the same conclusion, that that number is not going to look any prettier for next year. We anticipate probably that same $643,000 being cut, not restored. And in addition, upon talking with a lot of our experts and that at different organizations, we added another 3% cut on top of it. Because remember, this 643 was just in reaction to the state trying to balance their budget for this year. They're going to have the same problem next year, certainly with all the tax dollars down. So really, the biggest change in the forecast had to do with that foundation number. The way that I worked it into the forecast, again, we're taking out the 643 this year. 2021, we're taking out more. And then I'm adding some back in gradually for the remaining couple years after that. Again, I don't think any of us anticipate that this is going to recover overnight. State budget's going to take a little while to reset itself. So those are really the big changes that I made in this forecast. Some of the smaller changes had to do with in reaction to that, and it started with changes that we are putting in place for our expenses starting next year and going forward a little bit. We're starting to trim back things. We're starting to look at not buying textbooks next year, not buying buses, with the exception of the one bus we're getting some help with the state program. So we're already making some cuts. So,
Buddy Larry.
I see that. And so anyway, that's some of the changes we saw on the expense side. So overall, board, if you look at the 5-year forecast, you will see that, the numbers, absolutely dropped from how we presented. Again, we're still in solid shape for this year, certainly next year, but that drop off, as you're all experienced, you're used to seeing this. Once it starts going down, it goes down fast. So again, something that we know we have more questions than we have answers. And certainly, not knowing what school's even going to look like next year is a huge question mark, because operating next year may be a whole lot more expensive than this year. But on the other hand, maybe not. It's really an unknown. So congratulations on coming in and being able to put on your little, what is that guy on Johnny Carson, Carmack, or yeah, the guy that would have to, yeah, and try to do this. I had shared with the board, and I'm sure you feel the same way, that never in our career have we been asked to put together a forecast with so many uncertainties. And it's certainly not the way I plan to go out. And this is my best guess. And you're going to have a smart person giving his spin on it. And hopefully in the next few months, we're going to know a whole lot more than what we know now. And so fall may look a lot different. But that's it. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Any questions from Ms. Pavlik?
Yeah, I
on
got a
that?
question. Janet, that reduction of 643,000.
Yeah.
That's reflected in the 7,647,000 for 2020.
What's 7,647,000?
On the unrestricted grants and aid. Where did that?
Yes, that has been lowered by that. That number
Okay,
used
and
to
you-
be
and-
600,000 higher.
And you stated that you might look at that next year.
Well, this year's going to be locked in, obviously. But the 2021 number that you see dropped to 7,470,000, that's the one that, as the governor releases budget numbers and that, we'll know more probably in, I'm guessing, September, October, as to what that
I
foundation is
thought
going to
you
look
said
like.
it might be similar to this year, and it was only at 230. But I get what you mean. The $1 million, weren't we getting $1 million of federal?
Yes.
Where did that?
That does not appear in the 5-year forecast, because your 5-year forecast, again, is just your operating budget. It's
Okay.
your general fund. What we have been told is, because this is a federal grant that we're going to be getting from the government,
Yeah.
that is going to have its own home in one of the federal grant funds. And in fact, we just this week got information from ODE that the application has opened up on that $1 million, and we have to submit our plan on how we're going to spend that. Certainly in talks with the cabinet, we are going to be pushing a lot of salary that is living in the general fund now, or that would be living in the general fund, some teacher salary, things like that. Instead of it going in here, we're going to be using some of that $1 million for that. Yeah.
So this does not, that money will not fall in this fourth.
That is
forecast,
correct.
But we can use it for
You can.
expenses within this 5-year. It just doesn't show.
That is correct. Yeah, we could choose to take some expenses out of here and move it over there, which would make this
I see.
look better, obviously. But again, and this is my caution on that, it's a 1-year solution.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's the part that gets kind of scary when you're doing things like that with general fund is.
Yeah, but you have to take,
But you have no- we have no choice. Oh, yeah.
If you could take some of these expenses, it's obviously going to help us down the road.
Absolutely.
Because we're 400,000, if you want to call it, ahead,
Yes.
So,
Did I hear you correct? And did you say that $1 million was going into the general fund, or is it
No.
a separate
No.
account?
Separate
separate.
Just
fund.
totally separate. Actually, when I looked at, when you sent it out yesterday or day before for us to look at, I was kind of surprised that our unreserved fund balance in 2024 wasn't greater.
In 2024,
Yeah,
a greater negative, you mean?
right.
A more bigger bad number?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree, because if I remember correctly, the original was the difference is less than $1 million.
Yeah, and again, part of that was with the idea of we rolled back the property tax hit wasn't as great as what I
Okay.
originally had thought.
Okay,
Fingers crossed on that one too.
thank you.
So the $1 million is from the CARES Act, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so you're saying there's no restriction, we can use that for staffing,
There-
not just for wellness? I just wanted some clarification on that. That's all.
No, it has nothing to do with wellness. That was a different pot of money.
Okay,
The CARES Act money, there are restrictions on it, but it's pretty darn broad. It's a pretty, they have recognize the fact that we need relief in all kinds of areas. So yeah, it's a pretty, wouldn't you agree, Dr. Selico, that the use of what we can use the million for is, I mean, they're
I
saying.
can chime in actually here because,
Why
yeah,
don't you go ahead? 'Cause
I just met with Mr. Elder yesterday, and we were itemizing and appropriating the CARES Act money. And so essentially, it's pretty much what we've discussed, which is summer school will offset the cost, will pay for the cost of that for secondary. Elementary will be paid through regular title funds. We will use a large chunk for your friend, Mr. Myers, Mrs. Patterson, is taking a big chunk for technology. Look, you know you're going to get the thumbs up there. So we have a big chunk going, about half of it actually is probably going to go to that for the devices and the hotspots. And wellness and some professional development, social emotional supports, and professional development.
And this to speak to them. So you have a plan in place, or you're still working on a plan? Because I would like to say, what have we learned from this right now? What have we learned?
The COVID experience and virtual. It's a very interesting question. You should ask that, because tomorrow I will provide you with results. We put out a survey to parents and to students, two surveys. So we've gotten a lot of feedback. I think it'll be interesting for you to see and what parents are saying and what students are saying. But clearly we have a lot of parents that are struggling with their students at home, which we would expect. They are eager, some of them, to get them back in school. They're struggling. We know that we need to provide parents with more support. We do have some support set up every Tuesday with Mr. Myers, sets tips for parents and different websites and resources that we know we have on hand. So we have some things that we have in mind. We still are working on the 3 plans, planning for virtual, all on site, and then the hybrid learning. And Mrs. Boynton sends me information as well. We have a database or a collection point where we keep all the stuff that comes in. We put it into one area. So the 2 committees that are working on the return to work and the return to school, led by Mr. Graybeck and Dr. Johnson, they both have different angles, but they've been meeting weekly and providing me with their notes. I actually just read through them again today, and they have a lot of different scenarios and a lot of different ways to prepare for safety as well as learning. And so we're definitely making headway.
Build better. That's all I ask, is you build better.
Oh, build better.
Build better. You have what you've learned from this.
Yeah.
So we build on that to make things better. That's all.
Yeah. But definitely a unique learning experience,
yeah.
that's for sure.
Yes.
Anything else? Any comments? Okay, thank you, Ms. Babel.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Okay, moving down to our item number 8.
We need a vote on
Motion.
that.
Oh, I'm
approve.
sorry. I'm just
Oh,
moving
yeah.
right along real fast. I'm sorry. Go right ahead. I have a motion to approve the updated 5-year forecast. Can I get a motion, please?
No.
It wasn't?
No.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Patterson and second by Ms. Boynton. Any additional questions or comments? None, please call the roll.
Mr. Kennedy?
Aye.
Mr. Tench?
Aye.
Mr. Stevens?
Aye.
Mrs. Patterson?
Aye.
Mrs. Boynton?
Aye.
Okay, motion passed 5-0. And once again, thank you, Ms. Pavlik.
Welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Number 8, item number 8. Superintendent's report. Go right ahead, Dr. Selico.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. I have a couple items this evening. I just want to first open by welcoming Bill to the district. Looking forward to working with you. We'll spend a lot of time together in small quarters. We have a nice little conference room that we spend half our lives in, and in here. It truly is a great place to work and live. I live here as well, so it's a great place for both of those things. I've enjoyed my time here, and we have great staff and a great working relationship with our unions. Proud to say that they are very easy to work with and enjoyable, and the staff is hardworking. Our students are phenomenal. They're a lot of fun. So I hope you enjoy it, and I'll be glad to assist you in any way. And so before you leave today, I have my number for you to take. Secondly, I'd like to point out the graduation. Just again, thank those of you who were able to come. As we heard, there certainly was a different way of doing this, and we are going to experience some glitches. And for the most part, I think we pulled it off. I just want to say hopefully you've all noticed in your different communities the pictures of our students and our grads throughout each village and city. And I want to thank the mayors and Rotary who also contributed money towards that in order for us to make that happen. So they were very excited about it too. I spoke with each mayor and their enthusiasm was really neat. They really appreciated having those pictures out, and I want to thank them publicly. And we had our parade just before it was really short. So by the time you all arrived, I had already waved and you heard the honking. You might have seen some remnants as you were coming in, but the students were really enjoying it. We probably had, I think they said about 80 cars of our students, seniors parading through, and they went to 3 different stops, Heskett and Columbus and Chanel, and were greeted by staff and parents. So that was a nice celebratory after their graduation last night. So we received a lot of praise. I have a couple neighbors that actually have graduates, so they were texting me and thanking us for everything that we did, and we're so pleased. And I said to the gentleman who runs the drive-in, I said, you better be careful because next year I think you're going to be getting inundated with people. They loved it so much. We were fortunate that it was a gorgeous night. People were so our students were so well behaved. Our parents were so respectful, as I expect. But it was wonderful, and they were so complimentary of our students, and I, as always, so proud of them. So we had. I'm not going to cry. That was just, I needed to swallow. But I am very proud of them, and I do get emotional over them.
Yeah.
No, they do make me very proud, and they do make me cry at times. But we had the great fireworks show, and I know those of you who saw it were that the kids just couldn't say enough about it. It was super cool and amazing. So thanks to the team. It was a team effort. We all worked on it together. No one person could take credit, but I will say Mrs. Brennan, give her props for really, there were a lot of things that were moving parts, and we really pulled it off. So I appreciate that, and to the students for their understanding and patience. But in talking with a lot of the students, I was online with a number of them this morning, and they were so elated about their experience. So that's what's most important. And then we will get to our parents and those of them who are listening. Some of them asked me on their way out last night how they can get copies of it. We will provide them with information for that, also for their pictures, and how they can also pick up their signs. So Mr. Thompson will be in touch with them on how to make all those things happen. Next, I just want to point out our strategic planning is in place. I believe a woman or so, Morgan maybe, they have a team of women, I think they're all women, reached out to you, and I think they're trying to get in touch to make some appointments with you to speak on that. And for the community who are listening, we're in the process of interviewing staff right now. We are going to move to the next phase for community engagement, and that will include in our Your Schools. We'll have information in there as well as on our website. There's 5 very short survey questions. It's not in this Your Schools. It'll be in the next one. So we're hoping that we can get their participation, as well as I will put out a large my phone message blast to all of our parents, and we've been getting good participation that way through the survey. So I'm hopeful that we'll get a lot of input from our parents and students. Actually, they're meeting with my Soups Troops in a couple of weeks. They have a meeting scheduled, and their siblings I invited because they have underclassmen as well, so to get their input. And I think that was it for that. And then very importantly, well, Mr. Stevens, we have some things to sign before you leave, please, this evening. But I brought with me some books. If you are interested, and I know we talked about jackets replacing now that we have new board members, or sweaters, or if anyone is interested in taking a book home and looking through Steve's sports, please let me know. I have books for you to see if anything strikes you and that we want as a team for our team for Spirit Wear. And Mrs. Boynton, your shirt is ordered and it's on its way. Okay. And that concludes my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Selico. Any further comments or anything before we adjourn, board?
Dr. Selico, just in reply to that parent about the young lady, as I was reading on the screen, it did say summa cum laude, but it did not mention that she was the valedictorian. And that would have been the simple thing to put up there.
Yeah, so here's the confusion, and I learned this in investigating it throughout the day. There was that Facebook post that she's referring to was an error, and we have not had a valedictorian for many, many years. I think when Mrs. Russell heard that it was the top student #1, she equated it with valedictorian and put that out there, because we would for sure notify Nija and say, you're our valedictorian, and make a big deal out of it. But it was just an error and a miscommunication on terminology. And so she is our top student. And in years past, we've referred to them as, the top or the number one GPA student. So yes, could we have put something on the slide? In hindsight, we certainly could have. You're right. And we did have honors listed for students, but there could have been something extra special, in hindsight, looking at that, certainly.
And I kind of think we need to go back to valedictorian and salutatorian. As we look at other school districts, they still carry that valedictorian and salutatorian. And I think maybe we need to go back to that.
Yes, I've kind of prepared Mr. Thompson already to be
Okay.
thinking about it, and
Thank
Mrs. Robinson.
Thank you.
Yes, certainly.
Yeah, I'll speak to as a parent, and I told you this, talking to you behind the scenes, and I want to thank you as a parent for what you and your staff did for this graduation. I think when this all hit, there was so much uncertainty whether they're going to have a graduation, and everything, and I think you guys pulled it off tremendously.
Thank you.
Every parent I spoke to absolutely loved it. I personally think, I think everything that you guys did, you and your staff and Ms. Brennan, but everything you did far outweighed 1 hour at the Woolstein. It really did. I mean, I think even though they couldn't have this graduation, everything that was done for them gave them memory after memory after memory. And I did. I spoke to parents last night. They said they'd go to graduation like that every year. That's how much they appreciate it, and they still appreciate it. So please thank your staff as a parent, that you made it memorable, you and your staff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Dr. Selico, I tell you, my kids graduated several years ago, both of them, and they were saying they wish that they could have had that experience, just what took place last night. So it was great. I mean, you guys made it as real as it could get, close, as much as possible, and that's what I believe. That's what they really appreciated. That you guys took that effort and you did it as close as possible. So I kudos to all you guys. I mean, you guys did a fantastic job. I just
Thank you.
Are we going to be able to put that on the TV station?
Yes, we will.
Okay.
Yep.
It's on YouTube.
Yeah,
It's on YouTube.
Is it on already?
Who has YouTube?
Yes.
It's on YouTube already.
We
And
don't have
are we on
YouTube. What's
BCS
YouTube?
I got the link. I'll send it to you.
BCS TV?
It was there.
It will be.
I want to see it and my TV.
Yes,
I want to look at it on my
The answer's
Yeah, Andrea, it was funny. I was sitting here and to echo what Rob said, even the past couple of days, I felt so sorry for our seniors, and not just our seniors, but any
Yeah.
senior, because I know what my senior year, I had a blast. And to have that ripped, I talked to a couple of guys that played ball with and everything, to have that ripped out from under you and have no control over it, it's a hard life lesson to learn early on in your life. But what we have done as a district, starting from when this first happened and all the uncertainty and not knowing which direction to go and all the consortiums and all I can't imagine your phone bill. And not just you, but every superintendent's phone bill and staff member. Unprecedented times. It just, to look back, I guess, in years down the road, you're going to look back and say, how the heck did we ever get through this?
Yep.
And I mean, through the team effort, what I was thinking about was, like Rob said, for 1 hour to Woolstein, this class, for all that they lost out on, they had so many other memories as a class. I mean, you didn't have an individual award assembly for the sports or award assembly for academics, where you only had pockets of kids, that were recognized. I mean, between last night, today, the parade before, you guys made lemonade out of the lemons that were handed to us. And kudos to you, the staff, and it starts at the top. I'll give you specific kudos to that, but I know you couldn't do it without the staff that was all on board. And so for me, as a graduate from Bedford, I don't have the words. Great job.
Like Anya said, she said we'll be the only class, the first class to go out with real fireworks.
It's true.
Right?
That's right.
And, you know, to add what Tim was saying, this was a little adversity for them.
Yes.
And
They handled it well.
Mhm.
this is the beginning of what's life. It's all about adversity, but it's not about what happens to you. It's how you handle those things when it happens to you. So that's the key right there. And they, you know, this is all a part of life and adversity that's going to come their way. And they were able to adjust. And that's what I said in my speech. You made the adjustments. You made the corrections.
Well, yeah, and I know we got to get out of here.
Yeah.
But to the point I was thinking of it is it would have been easy as, and I know maybe not around here, but some districts, they took the easy way out. You know, we can't have a graduation, so we're just going to do this. We'll be done with it. All right. I commend them for not jumping the gun and sitting down and looking at all the avenues or things that we can do, and they put it together. They could have said, we're just having a virtual, let's give them our diplomas and let's move on. You know, but they didn't. They took their time, they were methodical, and they looked at every opportunity, and they showed they cared through the whole process. That's what I'm impressed with. Now I'm done.
Anything else?
I do. I want to
Go right ahead. Dear.
Wonderful job,
Thank you so much.
you and your staff. And I look at it as hard work and dedication.
Mhm.
Your staff was so dedicated to the cause to make our scholars so happy in their last few days at Bedford. So, and that was very apparent. This is my first graduation since my children graduated in 2001. Look at my age. 2001, 2002. You know what I really liked, and I saw that with the parents too, when the children, students were coming in individually, and they got to yell and say whatever, call them by their nicknames.
Yes.
You know, we could do that at Wolstein.
Right.
Be good.
Right.
And so they were able to do that. It was like their own little personal graduation. So that was so cool. I really enjoyed the fireworks last night. I was actually alone in my car,
Oh.
and I was turned the other way. That's probably why you didn't see me. I was looking at the back street. And this one, it was like 3 students in the car. One got out, and she was like, I can't wait for my name. Her name was the last letter of that, of course. It was W. Why? And she said, I'm waiting for my name. I'm waiting for my name. She was out of the car. And as soon as her picture came up, she was screaming and running up and down. I said, man, that could not have happened if we had been inside. So it was just wonderful. Great job.
Thank you.
Hard work, dedication. That's what we have to do. Passion for our children and for education. So thank you so much. Great
Thanks so
job.
much, Ms. Boynton. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Well, you got a lot of great accomplishments last night, shared with
That's nice.
staff, and just let them know how much we really
We will,
appreciate
I will.
Yes.
They'll appreciate your remarks too.
Thank
So
you,
thank you very much.
thank
And thank you to all of you who were able to come and pass out the diplomas. I know that was a nice touch and just an extra, something special for the students as well. And the parents, I will tell you, a few of them shared with me how much they loved that, what you just said, Mrs. Boynton, how they were able to sit right there. They said, we're in Wolstein, they're a little ant, up there. I can't even see my child. And here they got to be right up close. So there were some pluses that came out of this, and I'm trying to look at it that way. So
Good.
thanks so much, everyone. I appreciate it.
Okay, with that being said, let's go ahead and adjourn. Can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Kennedy and second by Mr. Tench to adjourn. Please call the roll.
Mr. Stevens,
Aye.
Mrs. Patterson,
Aye.
Mr. Tench,
Aye.
Mr. Kennedy,
Aye.
Mrs. Boynton.
Aye.
Okay, we're going to adjourn at 7:04. Thank you.